Hello, and welcome to another weekly reading. I am using very calming, grounding kind of oils. Rose oil has a very sedative action, very calming. Intune is a focus blend with a super grounding aroma. And as you can see, these beautiful crystals that I'm putting in here are also very much in the grounding kind of spectrum. Where's the other one? There it is. That I'm bringing in, and that is because one of the things I spoke about last week, which was the Uranus-Mars conjunction, is still very much in effect. So the strongest days of that being Sunday from last week, Monday, Tuesday from this week, very, very heavily influencing the energy really of the last few weeks, and it's going to ripple. It's one of those big kind of conjunctions that we know about. We can't really deny. So some of us will feel this a lot more acutely, depending how it hits your chart. For example, it's very personally impactful in my chart, so I can really, really feel it strongly. But even if you don't have any planets or points near that conjunction, which is happening around 25, 26 of Taurus, you will still be feeling it and you will be seeing it in the world. It's a big picture thing. On top of that, on Sunday of this week is our second Capricorn full moon of the year. Normally we only have one full moon in a sign. I also brought in a little bit of fire for us today. We normally only have one full moon in a sign every year and one new moon in a sign every year. Last year we had a double Aries new moon, and this year we have a double Capricorn full moon. These are cardinal signs, which means there is some initiatory energy that's really, really extra focused at the moment in the last few years, which I think we can all feel anyway. And that double new Aries moon last year, March, April, was very much about seeding something new and being courageous and warrior-like as we step into it, where the Capricorn is about that business builder and seeing at full moon and seeing what has come to fruition and what will continue to come to fruition. How do we keep moving forward with that kind of healthy productivity, we might say? Okay, so remember to pick a card between 1 and 4. This isn't a personal reading. You're going to get a little extra personalized info from the card that you pick, card or cards that you pick. And I kid you not, for the third week in a row, our second card is exactly the same. Let's jump in. So, the Death Rebirth card, which is Major Arcana, which is exactly what I just said. We are feeling this whether it's personal, whether it's collective. For me, this is very indicative of this Mars Uranus conjunction, and it's basically just saying change is happening, death is happening, rebirth is happening. Whether you wanted to or not, whether it's very personally obvious to you or not, it's there. If you have chosen over the last week or 3 this particular number and this particular card, then you best believe it's going to be more personal for you as well. But anyway, let's look at the rest. So last week we had 3 of the same cards as we had the week before, which was quite something. This week we only have the one that's the same. We've got a Pentacles card, which is earth. We've got a Wands card, which is fire. And we've got a Swords card, which is air. So no water in the equation, cups. And then we have one Major Arcana. We also only have one upside down card, which really is part of our consolidating, I think. Bearing in mind, Mercury is already in shadow for his retrograde period. So the things that are starting to show up for us in terms of our thinking, our mental space right now, our logic, our problem solving, our narrative, the things that are coming up at the moment as themes and topics are probably going to become more problematic during that retrograde. And then during the post shadow, there'll be this opportunity to start thinking about how do I find a solution for that? So let's start with the Two of Pentacles. As I always say, twos give us the opportunity of a choice point. It's quite nice when there's only 2 options. It's a little bit more simplified because really there are so many different parts of each of us internally. There are so many things happening in the outside world that we interface with all of the time. There are so many nuances that there are always many, 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 many choices. But when we see a 2, it's kind of saying, break it down, simplify, which I kind of like for that earthy energy. There's this crazy conjunction in Taurus, which is an earth sign, and that's a little uncomfortable. But Mars is like, how do we do something about it once the buildings come down? And Capricorn, the full moon at the end of the month, the end of the week, is also about building. So we could look at this and say, how do I build? And where do I find that balance between my mind and my body, between spirit and matter? How do I, oh, the rainbows are coming in from the prism. You can see them dancing over that card. How do I make a choice where to invest my energy right now? And I think that is a very important thing, because when there is a breakdown, we can't always tell, breakdown or breakthrough. Usually we see in hindsight that it was a breakthrough. In the moment of it, in the crisis, in the chaos, it feels more like breakdown. And so we might be having this breakdown moment, or it seems like a breakdown moment, and how we choose to respond to the situation is very much what this card to me is talking about. So now we've got this crazy thing happening. How do I choose to invest my time and energy? How do I choose to move forward with this information as I have right now? And, more information may come and I may have to pivot and change direction again. But right now, with the information I have, with the dust rising from the collapse of a building, how do I now make this decision, right? Then the Death Rebirth card, which we've had for 3 weeks running, is definitely talking to that archetypal understanding that nothing stays the same. It's very rarely speaking to physical death, but more about what parts need to die off so that the next version of me can live. So you could take this into any situation. What job needs to fall away so that I can step into the next job? What relationship needs to fall away so I can step into the next relationship? What part of my personality is no longer serving me and I need to allow that to die off or be pruned back so that I can have new growth inside of me? So this is very much like the Death card is saying there are things that are dying and shifting and changing. Whether you choose to be kind of like accepting of that or go with the flow with that or not, that is a choice that you make, which brings us back to this choice of the Two of Pentacles. Let me decide how I invest my time. Let me decide if I accept the fact. Maybe depending what it is that is dying off means that you need to do very strong physical self-care. Think about that bottom pentacle where it's much more easy to see. Maybe I need to do some very slow methodical movement, really body conscious, somatic work, self-care, nourish my body, the more physical aspects. Maybe I need alone time. I need to tap into my soul, my spirit. I need meditation time. I need to quiet my mind and center in my heart. Maybe that's where I need to invest, depending what is happening around us, what is dying, and how do I metabolize that? Then the Eight of Wands also is saying you may not easily have the time that you might think you have. Perhaps it's because this is a fast card. This is like bang, which again is that Uranian energy and Martian energy. Change is happening fast. So we may think, well, if I just take the time to meditate every day or go for that daily walk in nature, I can keep myself centered even when the world is crumbling. But then something big happens and you go, well, now I don't actually have the time to do these healthy routines and rituals that I'm used to. And what does that mean for me? How can I take 3 breaths if that's all I have the time for? Again, I'm back to having a choice. This has happened. It's not something I could control. So how do I interface? How do I choose how to invest my time? And when we see that 5 of Swords, I think this is very much saying, where are you feeling guilty? Where are you feeling deceitful? Where are you feeling like you should have been more honest, you should have been, or that others are being that way towards you? I always like for us to first come into self and ask, where am I this? Because usually when it's somewhere inside of us, it will be reflected in society. But also recognizing that sometimes people have been pulling the wool over our eyes, or and then maybe we feel guilty for allowing that. So just looking at, where am I getting hooked into lies and deceit, shame, guilt, those kinds of things that create this anxiety. And again, because Mercury is in his retrograde shadow, this is very much going to give us a deeper understanding of what the work for this Mercury retrograde is. And this Mercury retrograde is interesting in that it starts in the sign of Virgo, which is a Mercury ruled sign that's very detail focused. And it goes back into Leo, which is very much about me and how I am sovereign or not. And then it turns around and goes back through the Leo and back into the Virgo. So you can see that a lot of this is about me, my autonomy, how I choose to be in the world, the details of what I do and what I think and how I speak and the words I use every single day, because the words that we use are spellings. You know, we need to think about the spells that we create with the words that we use. And this is where we maybe need to have a little extra accountability. And first we have to become aware. And if that leaves you feeling a little guilty, maybe I should stop saying that. Then just take it as it comes. If that feeling is arising in you, just be grateful you've recognized it. Now you have the opportunity again to choose. Well, I don't like how I've been speaking about this situation, how I've been repeating this particular story, and how that makes me feel is guilty or ashamed. And if I feel like that about it, I can choose how to kill off a part of me that is no longer making me feel my best self. And in amongst this, there's going to be things that just pop in, bursts of insight, bursts of intensity, accelerated moments, probably inside of you as well as almost certainly from the outside world. And just recognizing that sometimes it's better to break an arm quickly than slowly. And so that's almost maybe what's happening here. Maybe there's been this resistance to allowing a part to die, and then through something external, bang, it's done. The arm is broken, and now you can begin to go, well, I think the problem was, and then begin to correct it, begin to reset, begin to regrow. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that has been helpful. Please remember, all your likes, shares, follows, subscribes really, really help me to try and reach more people. And that way I can keep doing these readings. I'm sending much, much love and luck for this week. And please be mindful this week. Just be cautious as you walk through the world. Walk when you can walk rather than run. Be more mindful as you drive your car. Look where you're walking. Don't be walking on a cell phone or driving on a cell phone. It is an accident-prone kind of energy, Mars Uranus. So just choose to be a little more mindful. Thank you so much for your time.